Donald Trump, of course, went to the National Association of Black Journalists, and it was every bit the debacle that people thought it would be. It was, and I don't think this is overstating it, kind of his Biden debate. A moment that just throws into undeniable relief. This guy probably shouldn't be doing what he's doing at this moment. And importantly, just like that debate, it didn't take long to figure it out. A few words into his first answer, you already knew exactly how this was gonna go. Take a look.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Yeah, that was probably worse than most people predicted it would be. Nobody thought that it was going to be just an amazing appearance, and he's gonna show respect not only for the black population of this country, but for like journalists in general. Nobody thought it was going to be that, but even I've been critical of Donald Trump a time or two, thought that he would be so immediately just a little petulant bitch, basically. That's what we have to call it like it is. And as you'll see in further clips, he's a twitchy little bitch at this point. He's low energy, and the little energy that he has, he channels immediately into grievance and whining and anger. And how could you didn't even say hello. First of all, the first words out of her mouth were, "Thank you so much for giving us your time." That's super polite. I guarantee it's politer than she truly wanted to be to this reprehensible sack of slime. And she did that for him. And what was so horrendous, what was so unfair about what she said, and she did say, why should black people trust you? But because of the things you've said, and she logged them. She didn't say, I think you're this, or I don't like you. She didn't even talk about like things that are relatively unconfirmed at this point. Like people say that he was using the N-word on the set of The Apprentice and stuff like that. She didn't throw that out there. She didn't talk about any of that. She didn't talk about Kwame. She didn't talk about any of that stuff. She didn't even go back to like the lawsuits back in the 80s when they were like, bringing in people to their apartments in a totally racist fashion. She just kept it to recent terrible things that he has done, and he lost his mind, okay? And started immediately whining and trying to influence the refs. That's what he was doing right there. And I have more thoughts on this, but I wanna make sure that you understand that the whining wasn't just off the bat, it was a constant. Take a look.
Or would you? Oh, absolutely.
And who would?
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, sir, actually.
I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's gonna do it with Zoom and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually.
Again, you twitchy little bitch. And that's what I'm talking about, the point. Oh, no, sir, very unfair. This woman can't. What is that? What he acts in real life like you would have a Muppet villain act in like a sort of campy 80s movie. If you wanted the Muppet villain to immediately inspire disgust and hatred in the audience, you'd have it do these little things and make little petty remarks or whatever. And that's how he uses his relatively actual human body. So she couldn't get the equipment. Yes, because Rachel Scott of ABC is definitely requisitioning equipment and setting it up and doing tech support, okay? No, he knows that has nothing to do with it. By the way, it's a cover story. They weren't late because of the equipment. They were late because apparently they were dueling over the fact that they were gonna do live fact checking of him, and he obviously doesn't want that. And so he immediately just has to, he hates her, he hates every glimpse of her he gets, he hates what she represents, he hates that she's standing up to him, and he has to regularly disrespect her. And that's what he's doing the entire time, claiming that he's answered her questions. He didn't answer for any of the things that she cited that he did, and she's right. She didn't make a statement, she listed his statements. If he is so very triggered by the things that he has said, perhaps he should stop saying such reprehensible things that are so quotable, that make journalists want to put together lists for him to have to answer to. Maybe he could change it up going forward, but I don't think he's going to, because he already is added to that list later on in the show that you're watching. It's just the idea that like, yeah, how could you invite me here? And you said that my opponent would be here. I mean, maybe it'd be Biden, maybe it'd be Kamala Harris. I don't know. First of all, you know exactly who you're running against. I know because you're shaking in your boots right now. And I also know that cover story is 100% false, because if you actually believe that she was gonna be on that stage, there's no way you'd be there, okay? You wanna be on a stage with her, go to the debate stage with her, say it to her face. Okay, and I know that you don't want to do that. The only reason you're on that stage is because you believe that she wouldn't be there. And now he's whining about zooming. Look, I can reference all the specific varieties of whining that he did, but I have a larger question for America, and particularly conservatives, particularly the MAGA movement. Why does it not bother you more that this guy is such a whining baby? Everything is unfair. Everything is stacked against this guy who's only been given billions of dollars in his life. Come on, he only had a major TV network craft an entirely fictional reputation for him to pretend to be a businessman under so that he could have his show. He only effectively had the entire Republican Party bow down to him because he insulted them a bit, and everyone's being so unfair to him now. It's so pathetic, and it is time not for us to move past this, okay? I'm not asking anybody in the audience to move past this. We are past this. We were never held back by this sort of BS. It's time for the MAGA movement, particularly MAGA men, to sack up and realize that you've been worshiping not just a false idol, but a pathetic idol. Just like slime smeared on the ground. That's what you are just bowing, kowtowing to constantly. This pathetic guy who can't take anything approaching not even a combative interview, but an interview that is anything other than a fluffing session, leads him to just break down. Okay, and I understand, before we move on to the worst moments of this, I know that there is a theory, and it's a theory that I sort of understand, that this didn't fall apart. This wasn't like he had a mission and he couldn't do it. Maybe this was the mission. Maybe this was not a failed opportunity to win over some black voters or whatever. Remember, he's talking to members of the media. There is no world in which he was gonna show journalists respect. His audience demands that he attacks journalists. Maybe he went there to get his white supporters to be even more like tightly cloaked in racial grievances, and to want to get back into birtherism 2.0 of questioning Harris's parentage or when she became black, as we'll get to. Maybe that was the point of it, okay? I don't think it's a great strategy. It's certainly a disgusting strategy, but it's hard to imagine how even a doddering old bigot like him could have messed up this much. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?